All right, here for a little bit deeper of a dive into a brand with my friend Jerry Jones from, I call him my Paramedics brand. So thanks, Jerry.
Yeah, pleasure to be here again.
We've already kind of talked about the little 5 minute, hot seat, but tell us what is the industry? What is the brand trends? Anything we should know?
Heating and air conditioning is an absolute must. Every building probably has it. Any building that is occupied, whether it's a business, a doctor's office, a hair salon, a nail salon, a restaurant, apartment complexes, hospitals, schools, high rises, our homes, everybody needs heating and air conditioning. And it's one of those things that when we come to our business, our workplace, or our home, we automatically expect the temperature to be 72 to 74 degrees. That's the expectation. And when it's the middle of winter and it's 30 degrees outside, and you open up that door and you walk into your home and it's 50 degrees, that's a problem. And so from an industry point of view, and why the paramedics brand and works so well, is it's an emergency at that point in time. We know that depending on the health of somebody, the age of somebody, it could be life or death. And it doesn't necessarily need to be the wintertime. It could be life or death in the summertime. Hypothermia versus hyperthermia. And so there's so many different things that make this such a valuable business to be a part of, but it's also highly regulated, right? And so it's not necessarily an industry that you have to be from. That's what I love. I tell people all the time, I don't need to be a doctor to own an urgent care. And so what we teach the candidates, what we teach our franchisees is, if that's your background, great, we'll exploit it. If it's not, we're going to teach you how to recruit, hire, and work with people from the heating and air industry. And it's such an industry that is easy to learn basics on. It's not a difficult industry to understand. It just takes a lot of time of experience to master it. So our franchisees, within that first 6 months, they're learning the industry. They're going to be able to communicate with the technicians and communicate with the community and talk their business. Heating and air, the best thing I love about it is, again, every building has a form and a need of it. And when it breaks, you got to take care of it no matter what.
We've all had those days, right? I mean, I remember the kids were little, right? We woke up, why is it so cold in here? And you're like, okay, what do we do? So
And it's funny,
we all have that story.
there's not a heating and air system that I know of that knows to break Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Yeah, right.
As a matter of fact, almost all of the emergencies that we have in life seem to be after hours and at the most inconvenient time. And again, that's what I love about our brand. We are available 24/7. It doesn't necessarily mean that your problem requires us to dispatch a technician, but we're going to take the call and we're going to address and figure out what we can do on the short term, and then put a plan together to fix the problem long term.
What does the typical day look like for your owners, and kind of expand on that? Are they hands-on? Are they managing a team? Are they turning a wrench? Just give us a little bit of color there.
We have three really distinct different types of owners, right? We have the owner that's involved in the business. That owner can be from the trades that might fill in for a technician that might be sick or ran late on a more difficult call. And now that 2 o'clock appointment has come and the owner may jump in a vehicle and go take care of that customer. And like you said, turn a wrench if they're from the trades. But generally speaking, no matter where your candidate comes from, we want them to run the business.
Okay.
And be in an attic, a backyard, or someone's house or business, running a business, right? You can't be the repair person running a business. And so a typical owner that is involved on a day-to-day basis is basically a fireman. I use that kind of funny, but they're putting out lots of little fires, whether it's a vendor, whether it's supplies that didn't come in, whether it's the sales team that's doing an install and they ran into some headaches, or an office lady that had to take the half a day off because her daughter's having a gymnastics meet and they need to answer the phone for the last 4 hours of the day. I hate to say it, but there's no cookie cutter answer. But generally, they're going to come into the office. They're going to make sure that the team has dispatched to their first appointments. They're going to review their marketing spend. They're going to review the different things that they have going on, their key performance indicators. They're going to oversee the back office of the business. And then as the day progresses, again, back to that fireman mentality, is put out the fires and address the things that need immediate attention on a day-to-day basis. A lot of our owners do have the right systems and processes through the franchise model that allows them to leave at 2 o'clock in the afternoon if they need to, or come in at 10 a.m. because their daughter or son has a dentist appointment at 8 a.m. You're going to have people in place that can work and operate the business without you on short terms. That's the key. On the flip side, if you have somebody that a semi-absentee or executive model, they're going to be heavily relying on a general manager or a partner, usually a
Okay.
minor partner, minority partner. And then
Okay.
they're going to assume that role of the owner. They're going to have the decision making. They're going to be able to do all the things that they need to do as an owner proxy, if you will, because they've been
Okay.
given that authority. And then that candidate, that person will be working also day to day along with an involved owner with the team, right? Whether it's your marketing, whether it's the technical trainer that we have on staff, whatever it's coaching, reaching out to other franchisees, working on marketing on their social media sites, which is daily job. So those are all the things that go into that business.
That's perfect. Talk about that a little bit more then, Jerry. Bring us into what those employees look like. And I know we'll have to talk at some point about licenses and certifications, and that depends on the state and the area and that type of thing. But talk like owners starting out, just bought his franchise. She wants to be involved in the business, but she doesn't want to turn a wrench as an owner. So who is she hiring right away? And how are you guys helping them find those key employees? I think that's always a question we get.
There's 4 categories that need to be filled, and whichever one appeals to the franchise owner and they want to take that control, then that's great. But here are the 4 C's. We need someone to answer the phone. Call centers are great, but when you're dealing with heating and air conditioning, call centers can't answer key questions that people are looking for. We answer our phones. Your heating and air conditioning is out. They want to know they're talking to somebody that is a business owner in that city. They don't want to be talking to a call center in California or the Philippines. So we need a CSR, customer service representative, to answer the phone. Second thing you need is someone to go and do the no heat, no cool call. That means they're just doing the maintenance and the repair. I'm going to get your heater back on as quickly as I can.
Okay.
That's somebody that doesn't have to be licensed, but they have to have some experience, some basic knowledge. A year is good. That's a great start. And you're going to get someone to do the sales, because how this business works is if I go and do a repair at your home and I find out your unit's 15 years old, I'm going to get the heater going, but I don't know if it's going to last a day, a week, or a month. Now I'm going to refer that back to the office, and they're going to send out a salesperson to discuss rebuild and replace options. Once Lisa and her husband decide that, hey, we want to go ahead with a replacement, now we're going to order those parts, and when those parts come in, we're going to get an installer. So an installer doesn't necessarily need to be on payroll day one. They need to be looking for an installer to bring in. So
Okay.
it's a technician, it's a salesperson, and it's a customer service representative. So if your owner has a good managerial sales background, they may go ahead and handle the overseeing of the business on a day-to-day and then run those sales calls in the afternoon.
Okay,
What
got
we
it.
don't want is we don't want our technician that's supposed to be doing 3 or 4 repairs a day to go and do an install, and now you getting 3 or 4 calls in, he's tied up on an install. If you can't send somebody out today for a heating and cool job, that customer is going to call somebody else. Keep our installs and our service technicians separate.
Talking about the numbers a little bit, talk to us about your item 7. I mean, most of the people watching this understand that item 7 is going to be the initial investment into the business. There's going to be some larger costs and some swing costs if you're leasing or buying vehicles, equipment, real estate, also a little bit about working capital, but give us an understanding, investment breakdown. What are people needing to come to the table with for this business?
So what our candidates are going to see today is 130 to 230. We're bumping that a little bit. It's really 150 to 250. The low range is somebody that's in the fields or knows somebody that's in the fields that's going to come along. So they may already have a service vehicle. They may already know the trades. They may have the tools. They may have some supplies. You could be on that lower end. Geographics matter. The Midwest and the South, you can probably come in at 200 versus the East Coast and West Coast, you're going to come in at that 250. Those all play into that range. One of the biggest things that I would say is if you have a candidate that's walking away from their job and they need to cover their personal expenses as well, then we expect them to have at least 3 to 6 months of the personal income set aside to handle their personal bills. We don't want someone to come in with a $200,000 and think that they're going to be able to launch a business and pay their bills for 6 months.
Thanks for that. I love that transparency. I mean, I think we really are trying to get into that more and more for people, like real numbers, real understanding of what that money is supposed to do. I tell everybody it's not supposed to be to feed your family and take a trip to Costa Rica.
It's not. And so many of these folks think that they can. They think that they can start a business and they're going to be able to pay themselves $100,000 a year, or pay themselves 75 grand, and their spouse that's not even working an hour in the business, 75 grand on week 1. And you can't do that. And if you want to do that, I'm okay with that. Let us know, and we can change the items. Well, not change it, but for that individual, I can run a map out and say, okay, you need to come to the table at 350 instead of 250. We can make sure that they understand what the investment's going to need to be for their location, for their plans and their goals. That 130 to 230 is what they're currently seeing. we're adjusting that with the new FDD in April to 150 to
Okay.
250.
Thank you. And I know Heating and Air Paramedics doesn't have an item 19 right now. That's probably changing in a couple months. This is one of those businesses that you're not too uncomfortable not having an item 19 because it's a pretty straightforward understanding. So give us some color around the industry-wide performance, how people figure out. I mean, I hate to say it's kind of a no-brainer, but I assuming that an HVAC company is going to make money.
It's almost one of the first things any candidate wants to know. If I'm going to spend $200,000, what's my return? What I can share legally is that in heating and air conditioning, one technician that is fixing and maintaining, so just there's no heat blowing out of my furnace, we send them out, they fix it and they get it up. The tune-ups are like oil changes for cars. We're going to go and make sure that the unit is prepared for the cold winter.
We have a guy that comes every spring.
A technician that does that, they can generate, one technician in a service van can generate anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000 in gross revenue.
Okay.
That doesn't count the rebuilds and the replacements.
Okay, got it.
So that's huge. Now, why the range? Why the big range? Well, again, the South and the Midwest, our labor a little bit less, our overheads are a bit less. So the tickets are going to be responsive to that. I can't charge somebody in Jackson, Mississippi what I'm going to charge somebody in Boston, Massachusetts. And then your East and West Coast will be on the higher end. It's a little bit more towards the higher end on an average, but I got to be able to disclose that there are some areas, South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming, where they don't have the populous center. You're not going to have as many opportunities, and so it could be a little bit lower on the range.
Well, and I think that's important too, to say this is the one guy in a van, right? So
this is your technician.
Scale that business, go from there.
Yep. The other thing that a lot of your candidates can do, and you can figure out how to implement this in what you do, Lisa, but there's a lot of legacy heating and air conditioning franchises out there that do have item 19s that show what their averages are. I promise you, there's not an air serve, 1 hour air, or an ARS HVAC guy that's doing double what a paramedics guy can do. Not in the same market, right? So it is what it is. They're all around the same number, and so they have that opportunity until April when we do get our item 19 represented.
Perfect.
We do have one coming.
You know, that kind of, there's always going to be a hot seat question with Lisa Welko, right? So we've got to keep this interesting. And so I think my one for you is usually around this, like when I present this industry to a candidate, all I hear is, oh, there's a lot of those around here. My market has a lot of competition, right? And I'll give them kind of my standard, you know, how many pizza places are there, right? But
I even have a better one for you. So that's a great hot seat question. I already know that another one that you're going to bring up is probably let's talk about the saturation. So first of all, any market could have, we'll just say 100 heating and air conditioning options. Of that 100, generally speaking, less than 10% is actually branded or marketing and getting their name out there. I use it like this. How many places can you go in your town to buy a car? There could be 1,000, from buy here, pay here, from the used car lots to all the different brands. Every major brand is in every market, right? Same thing with how many places can I go get an oil change? So many places. Are any of them going out of business? Have you seen any car dealerships shutting their doors? No. Right. And the other thing is when people are looking at this, they think that they're competing against the Chuck in the truck that is working from home and working off of word of mouth. It's nowhere near close our competition. When you Google paramedics, you're going to see that it's a national company. And if you click on any location, it doesn't tell you if they're a 1 truck operation, a 5 truck operation, or a 100 truck operation. Same with air serve, same with heating, 1 hour air. That's the beauty. But because they're branded, they're out there, they're spending the marketing, they're getting their name out in front. The perception is that's a big company. That's what you're joining, is a national branded company that's up there with all the other big players and leaving all the individual self-employed people out of our competition. We're not competing with them on price. That's
a smart way to say it. Thank you for that. So you know my other hot seat question for you guys. So I'll let you answer it now. There's nobody else doing this. I'm like the 4th guy, right?
So elaborate. What do you mean there's nobody out there doing it?
Let's talk about who am I gonna get to talk to for validation?
Well, you know, I'm going to use something that everybody can relate to. Where did McDonald's start? 1 location, right? And when they opened up their 2nd location, who did he get to talk to? They talked to the founder, right? Everybody starts somewhere. We've been franchising for 3 years, and I've been with the organization since October of last year. I sold the first location in 2024. So I came in after 10 months of them trying to sell locations. None were sold. I got here in October and I sold 3 territories in Raleigh, North Carolina. With me now and my background and my pedigree in franchising, my background in heating and air conditioning, we're going to really expand. So I have enough paramedics, 2 plumbers, 2 HVAC locations, 3 HVAC locations, 2 plumbing, that are going to be able to share enough information that they can understand a day in the life. They can understand the numbers. They can understand what we're trying to accomplish. And my second flip side of that is we're not saying yes so that we can say my goal is I got to do 40 a year, and then we award 40 territories and half of them close. That's not what we're about. We're
Right.
about, if we get 10, great. If we get 15, great. We want to make sure that 4 years from now, they're still operational, that
Right.
they're happy, they're meeting their financial requirements and goals. And so
Yeah.
our goal isn't to be the second largest out there in 3 years. Our goal is to bring quality people in and ensure that we're growing at the right pace, because we all know a death of a franchise is you grow too fast and then you don't have the people to support them.
Talk about the wizard behind the curtain on this one too. Like, I think it's important that this isn't like Jerry Jones, one man guy, hope and a dream, building one little brand with 3 franchisees. Like, talk about the support that's the deep bench of this brand.
So, when you look at franchising as a whole, there's a lot of franchisors that mix their offerings with brick and mortar retail, Java juices, and home care, and dog grooming, and home services. They have a plethora of options, and there's nothing wrong with that. At Threshold Brands, our parent company, which is backed by Riverside Capital, and Riverside Capital, if anybody knows who they are, they love home services franchises. That's what they do. They have some in the commercial space, the nitty and gritty, the blue collar. You get in there, you're putting boots on, you're getting dirt under your nails. And at Threshold Brands, that's us. Our 10 brands are all in the home services space. And why that is a strength to have is because all of our business models are running an identical business with one exception only. And that is someone's going in and cleaning your house. Somebody's going to go in and do some plumbing. Somebody's going to go in and do some grout. Someone's going to go in and do this. But they're all running the same business. They all have the same marketing needs. Residential. The
Right.
majority of the marketing we see today is telling you to get in your vehicle, drive to an address, and buy what they sell. Nobody comes to our office and buys an HVAC system. Nobody comes to our office and has their house cleaned from our office. So,
Right.
when we bring in the shared services, the threshold marketing services, we're bringing in proven history in any given market. So we can look at any market and there's probably a threshold brand already operating in that market. And so we're learning from real live data. So as we expand our portfolio, especially with the paramedics brands, into markets that are virgin markets, we can at least look back and say, well, we have this at Threshold, and we're going to help customize the offerings and the marketing and the recruiting and the support based on what we've already learned. And so I think that's a power behind a brand, and especially that supports your candidates. And then let's not forget the almighty best resource, and that's the other paramedics owners that are already doing it. You can learn so much from existing franchisees. And I tell candidates this sometimes, so I'm blue in the face, but nobody has a crystal ball. We don't know where you're finding it tough. What are you stumbling over? And if they pick up the phone, work with the corporate team, work with the existing franchisees, work with other brands in their market, sky's the limit. Their growth it's up to them at that point. So
Awesome.
hopefully that answers that. Got one more to talk about: licensing and the technical aspect.
Yes.
One of
Thank
the
you.
things that separates paramedics brands from our competitors, primarily, folks, is we have brought on a gentleman that spent 7 years between HVAC and plumbing as a technician, and then the last 7 years teaching HVAC and plumbing at a technical college in North Carolina. He is now a full-time employee with us. So your employees, your technicians are going to be able to FaceTime, Zoom, video call, and work with Marcus Spriggs, and he will walk your people through anything technical they may or may not know. In addition to that, we also have 2 recruiting companies. There is an upfront fee, but they will actually go out and recruit not only talented, skilled technicians, but licensed people as well. So there's a fee that you pay up front, but they will bring these candidates to you. You interview them and you bring them on board. You don't need to hire somebody with a license. There's a lot of licenses out there that you can, depending on your state, that you can just pay a monthly fee, and that person who's not using his HVAC license, he may be full-time employed somewhere else and he's not using his license, you can pay them a monthly fee until you can secure somebody. But the great thing is I have enough knowledge to teach your candidates how to acquire, a lot like Mo. COO. He bought an existing business and
Yeah.
negotiated the license, and the owner stays on board until he can build his team on his own. And so there's a lot of different opportunities, but we have that internal, and
All
that's
right.
a great thing. So, and there's also 10 states that don't require it.
That's what we love.
That's what you love. So,
Thank you
we
very
can.
much. Thanks so much, Jerry. I really appreciate it. Guys, if you have any questions about this brand or others, of course, go ahead and click the link below and we will make sure to get you in touch with Jerry just as quick as we can. Thanks. Thank you for watching. If you're ready to take the next step, Integrity Franchise Group is here to help. Click the link below or reach out to us today to schedule an appointment. Let's work together to solve that franchise puzzle and turn your business dreams into reality. We cannot wait to connect with you.